Welcome to Lair of the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. And we're back with another episode of Heavy Hidden Gems from the 70s. And I have my good friend here, Greeno. He was on our first episode, and we're back to share some more heavy hidden gems for you. This is where we kind of want to showcase some bands that are maybe off people's radar. You know, maybe you've heard the names of some of these bands, but you don't know much about them. And we think if you're a hard rock, if you're a heavy metal fan, that there might be some stuff here that you can enjoy. All right, Greeno, so thanks for coming back here.
Thanks for having me. This is great. I love talking this crap.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we mentioned this in the first episode that there's a lot of labels that reissue this kind of stuff. So if you're into this kind of stuff, I got onto the reissue game a little late with a lot of this stuff. It sounds like you were right there at the right time and were able to grab a lot of this stuff. But if you keep your eyes open, there's certain record labels. You mentioned Rockadrome, you know, they're sort of known for reissuing stuff. And there's certain labels out there that do reissue a lot of this stuff. And if you keep your eyes open, you will see this stuff get reprinted and repressed and stuff. If it's not already still, you know, in print. You know who else does it too? Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say a Karma. That was kind of when I got jumped into it. That was the big daddy, a Karma. You know, it was like everything I found from them, you know, heavy 70s wise, the Buffalo albums, they did all that stuff, you know, it was just awesome. And they are, to me, a Karma is heavy 70s like High Roller is 80s. They go all out on the packaging, the pressings. And to be honest, I don't know if they're still around anymore or not. I haven't really seen anything pop up for a while. You used to be able to get them.
I'm not sure if they are either.
Yeah, I used to be able to get them pretty easily, but I think even those Karma pressings go for kind of crazy money anymore.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing is they usually don't press a ton of copies, and then when they go out of print, it's really hard to find. I was trying to remember the label. I was thinking of Rise Above Records, who releases a lot of doom and stoner type stuff. They have kind of a branch off of their label called Rise Above Relics, and they've been putting stuff out, you know, heavy 70s stuff, real nice packaging. And I don't have one of their albums for this particular episode, but I'll probably show, you know, be talking about one of their reissues at a point in the future.
Right.
All right. So what do you got here for your pick for today?
This one was like a total blind buy years ago. It's a band out of New York. Name of the album is Way Down East, and it's a band called Jukin Bone.
Okay.
Doesn't really look like much, but this is like really fun, heavy blues. And like we talked about earlier, you get a little bit of everything here. You're going to get the really rocking kind of stuff, cool guitar. You're going to get the slower stuff, organ, you know, piano stuff in there. And this is I assume an OG on the old Dino Flex. This sounds great. I mean, 180 gram Dynaflex. These things sounded great to me. But like I said, these dudes were out of New York, and this is from 72. They had two albums that I know of, and the first one is Whiskey Woman. And after, like I said, I found this blind buy, and it was probably like a couple bucks back in the day, and really dug that and ended up I got this off the internet for whatever back then, 15 bucks or whatever. This album is it's a touch more raw, more drunk, if you they were having a good time when they were making this one. This one has much more, I think they were a little more serious, a little more slick, but man, this is just a killer album. And I don't know if you do this, and we were kind of talking about this before we got started. I don't have a lot really to say about this band other than what I've just said, because sometimes not knowing is cool. It's like, they're just a cool band, leave it alone. I don't need to know everything about them, where everybody went and the whole nine. Just kind of leave that little mystery going with some of these bands, you know. And it's like, that's kind of what I've done with these dudes, other than to find these two albums. And I knew they were from New York. That's It's kind of all I know. Did you ever do that? Do you ever just like, you know what? That's a cool band. I don't need to
Oh
look
yeah,
into
yeah, yeah.
anything.
And a lot of these bands, there's just not a lot of information on them.
Absolutely,
There's
man.
very little information, so you're just sort of left to take it for what it
Yeah.
is.
And that was kind of part of the fun, really, if you think about it, when we were younger. Man, you couldn't sit down and go, okay, I need to know when the guitar player was born and who his third cousin is. Tick, 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 tick. Oh, there it is. When we were younger, it was like, man, you might have got an ad or an article, in a magazine somewhere, and you might never ever see anything else about that band again
Yeah.
until the internet came along. And that was kind of, it added to the mystery and the kind of the coolness of it all.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember, gosh, just even the big bands, my
Mm-hmm.
AC/DC and Black Sabbath, and you would see them in magazines, but where I lived, I didn't have access to any cool import metal magazines like Kerrang and stuff. I had Hit Parader and Circus, so you weren't, of course, AC/DC and stuff. You would see them in there, but I remember seeing like pictures of Bon Scott, for instance, and being like, oh wow, here's some pictures of Bon Scott, because you didn't see that many pictures of him because Brian was in the band, and it was because you didn't know anything about the bands, and that's
Mm-hmm.
where sort of stories and people will talk, and oh yeah, and there would
Yeah,
be sort of this mystery and mystique around things, and you didn't, nowadays I think there's just too much information, and
I agree. Yeah.
you're yeah, go ahead.
Bands should kind of like Ghost. I think Ghost totally made it doing the Kiss thing and all that. It was just like they were very mysterious, and he built up that whole thing around them. They were, they're a cool band. First album, especially, I really like. But everybody was like, "Who are these dudes? What the hell's
Yeah,
going on?" You know what I mean? And that drew everybody in. There's
yeah,
something to be said for that. And now it's like, well, what's the guitar player from band X doing today? Well, let's look at
yeah,
Instagram. Oh, he had shredded
yeah.
wheat for breakfast. Cool.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Don't need
Yeah,
that.
it's true. And yeah, Ghost is maybe one of the last bands, in my opinion, in this day and age of the internet and constant information, to be able to create any kind of mystery
Yeah.
or anything, excitement kind of around them. And yeah, that is kind of the cool thing about stuff from back then. You just listen to stuff, and you just took it for what it was. You either liked it or you didn't, and that was
Right.
it.
Exactly.
All
So
right,
what do
so
you got?
my pick is a band called Highway Robbery, and the
Uh,
album is For Love or Money. This I just got this, so I've only given it a couple spins. This is a repress, but it's done up kind of to look like the original record. I can't really read what this Dynaflex. Maybe that was the original label. I think that this was on. They only put out one record. This came out in 1972. Very hard to get any information on these guys. They're a U.S. based band. I couldn't find what city they were from. I did read one place. I thought somebody said Detroit, but I don't know if they were just comparing them to Detroit rock or if they were actually from there. The sound is very grand funk, so it's bluesy but really heavy. The first track on here, Mystery Rider, is really cool. There's some really great vocals on it, some vocal harmonies. The drummer is the lead vocalist, maybe kind of another. I know the drummer in Grand Funk sang, so connection there. And the other guys are also listed as vocals. So there's some really nice harmonies on here, but it's hard driving blues. Whiskey Rider is really catchy. The second track, 15, is really hard driving blues. Maybe if I made another comparison, we mentioned Sir Lord Baltimore earlier, maybe that kind of vibe at times. All I need to have is you is a mellower one, mellower in like a Led Zeppelin kind of bluesy acoustic guitar kind of way. Lazy Woman is really cool. It almost has like a Glenn Hughes era Deep Purple feel to it, or Glenn Hughes Trapeze, when Glenn Hughes is with Trapeze, that kind of vibe to it. So it's cool driving, driving hard blues rock, promotional man. The last song on the album is kind of fun lyrics like promotional man. Are you going to make me a star? So it's a fun record. It's well recorded. It's, again, it's not super slick or anything. There's some great bass playing on this. The song, I think I have this right. I'll Do It Again, I think it's a song. It's kind of a mellow song, but there's like these really nice bass lines where the bass player takes like a bass solo in it. And it's just really cool. It's like we mentioned in our first episode here that we did, previous episode, that we really like power trios. And
I was getting ready to say, let's all say it together. Power
trio, yeah. And this is that. It's got a nice openness, so the bass is moving around a lot. And so for fans, I would say of like Grand Funk, if you like that kind of upbeat, hard rock, blues, just nothing really dark or anything on it. So I wouldn't make any sort of comparisons to Judas Priest or Black Sabbath. It's not that.
No,
it's more the Grand Funk style of.
That's a great album, dude. That's one of the early ones I came across too, and Reissue too. And that one blew me away. That band, how we kind of talked about earlier, how you have your A level, your B level, C level. That's a B level band to me. I mean, they're up there with sort of little Baltimore and all that stuff. I mean, Bang. That album just completely floored me. It's like, how have I never heard this? You know what I mean? It's just
it's crazy.
And it's great stuff.
It's melodic enough and it's recorded well enough that you would have thought that, they could have had a radio hit, but I don't know what their original record label was, if it was just like a smaller label and they were just never promoted and the band just released this one record. But you could definitely hear sometimes there's bands here where you're like, okay, I understand why this band it may be good, but I can understand why it never got played on the radio or something. But there's songs on here that I could have easily have heard as like Mystery Rider. That first song has got great harmonies in it. The vocals are clean, kind of upper range type of vocals, great harmonies, great hooks in the songs and everything. So
absolutely, man. Like I said, if you're just getting into heavy 70s, you're kind of watching these videos, and put that on the list. That's worth checking out. Definitely. Yeah. That's a great album.
That might be a topic for one of the videos. Maybe we could do like a top 5 or top 10. You're just getting into heavy 70s. You want to explore heavy 70s. Here are the top 10 or 5 bands that you should start with. That'd be a good topic for a video.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. There's our picks for this week's episodes of Heavy Hidden Gems from the 70s. I'm going to leave in the description down below links so you can check these bands out, check out a song or maybe the whole album. If you haven't heard them, check it out. Get back to us. Let us know in the description. Give us a comment. Let us know what you think of these bands. If you've already heard of them, let us know what you think of these bands. And also let us know if there's some heavy 70s bands that you want us to talk about. Leave a comment down below. Some bands that you really dig. Maybe it's something we haven't heard before or something that we have and we can talk about on the show here. So
yeah, always good to find new music.
Absolutely. All right. I'd like to thank Greeno again for joining me here. And till we see you again, make sure you rock hard, ride free.